When I was tapped into the C-suite, I felt like I said, "Oh, I don't want the role." I was so afraid. But so sometimes you don't know, but it's that.
Welcome to the Financial Innovations Podcast. We're helping CFOs save money and time by investing in cutting-edge technology. I'm your host, Daniel Villani. We're really excited today to have Robin Helfer on the show with us. Robin, it's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so, we're really excited today. We've got, a lot of great topics to talk about. I know that one thing that's, really been picking up a lot in conversations, especially with, CFOs and, COOs like yourself is, technology. And, used to have conversations in the past where, you mentioned the word technology in there and everybody starts saying, directing you to IT. And, now, a lot of executives, are more into those kinds of conversations than in the past. So maybe if you want to just start, tell us a little bit about, maybe the roles that you've had and kind of the role that like technology implementations have had, in your line of work.
Sure. So, my background, I actually started my career in public accounting. I was an accounting major undergrad. I am a CPA. And after I was in public, and I chose, consumer products and services as my industry of choice. After being in public, I moved to the other side, as they say. I started in finance. I worked for very large, consumer products companies like Warner Lambert / Pfizer, Unilever, Cadbury. And, about, I guess, just shy of like 20 years ago, I went to the Topps company and I moved, which was candy and cards at the time. And I moved into the middle market. I joined in finance, but my role ended up expanding into operations. And ever since, I've been, a COO / CFO, and worked primarily for private equity backed or founder led consumer products companies. But I've stayed in that, OOFO space. I'd say for years, and namely since Topps, to me, in my line of work, there are like three core, legs to the stool, if you will: people, process, and systems. So technology / systems, whether it was, working on a primarily wholesale business or fast forwarding, to where I was most recently, an omni-channel direct to consumer retailer. Technology cannot be, the importance of technology to enable the organization to effectively scale and grow. I cannot underestimate that. It's critical and it's absolutely our friend. Now, that being said, though, an organization needs to right size the tech stack for the size of its business, or else you could end up putting like a lot of money into tech, and then you don't have the scale and the sales to justify that total cost of ownership. So, but there are so many solutions that are out there today. There are off the shelf solutions, but even back 20 years ago, when I was working on selecting ERP solutions for Topps with the CFO at the time and the rest of the organization, we were taught, for Topps and ERP, that was a very important technological project. But without having that solution, that would have been a major hindrance for the company. So even back then, I guess getting acquainted with it, making sure as a CFO, I think it's an important initiative. Like maybe if you have it, my recommendation would be for your listeners, if you have an opportunity to work on an ERP, you should take that opportunity because it really does help you marry your knowledge of the business to how do you enable that? How do you leverage a system behind the business processes that you have, and ultimately it is a critical success factor for a company.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a great point, because you know a lot of people think that they hear the word ERP and they think that there's like magic happening behind the scenes, and that I don't know quite how it works, but it just works, and and all of that, and there's a whole lot of configuration that that goes into it, a whole lot of time and energy and tears shed, and all of that as you're going through the process. But in the end, it's foundational to your company. It's not, you can always just go and swap out a system that you have. You can't just go and swap out your ERP, very easily. I mean, it happens.
It takes money and time.
Right.
I was remiss in that, I did not say earlier, though, was even back with the ERP, trying to take as much as you can off the shelf and not customizing would be some of my recommendation. I used to, kid around with my colleagues and say that customization was like a four-letter word. You want to try to, but it's inevitable, right? But it's how do you minimize the magnitude of customization so that when the provider does upgrades, you can leverage those upgrades and not have to go through a huge amount of testing that is associated with with when an upgrade takes place. So, and that really goes for an ERP. It goes for bolt-ons to your core ERP. It goes to your storefronts. If you work for a direct to consumer business and you have an online site, the principles stand, even though, again, I've been doing this longer than I'd like to admit, but those principles haven't changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny that you talk about customization, because I'm always I feel like I'm always fighting the battle with the customers that I do implementations for on whether to customize or not. Most of my business is done on the planning, budgeting, forecasting, reporting side than necessarily the ERP, but you get the customers that they want to customize everything just because there's the ability to customize everything. And then you get the ones that say, oh, we'll take the out of the box, and, we'll do it that way. And I think those are the customers that scare me the most, the people that say, we'll take it and we're not going to customize anything, because, it's only a matter of time once you see what the tool is capable of that you want to, like, yeah, I know I told you I didn't want to customize anything, but like, can we just change the color on that? And it always starts with, the small little tweak that, should seem harmless and all of that. And before you know it, it turns into the like, oh yeah, we want to, totally change everything about this system.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have the people that want to customize from day one, because at least you can account for all the changes that are made, versus you get past the point of no return and now you've got to re-engineer things. But I guess, how do you manage the what should be customized versus the what should we just take out of the box that's there? Is there like something specific that you look for in terms of the like when to customize versus not?
I think you have to look at cost benefit, like anything else. You have to look at, what is the unique feature that you're trying to customize, and what benefit are you going to get from it, and why can you not take what is off the shelf? I think that many businesses, and they're the core functionality of, let's just take an ERP. It's not really rocket science, put it that way. Like, once you work with one, I have found that when I've worked with a multitude of ERPs, the functionality itself and the core principles really don't change. So if you do have to customize something, what's the return on that investment? And that's really, in my opinion, that's how I would look at it. Or is there an intricacy to the business that really, it's a must have, and because of that, you have to either add on you have to bolt on another tool that needs to interface into the ERP. Maybe you have an instance like that. But I don't think there's really anything that, can't be solved. It's just sometimes, again, with the customizations, it's just going to make things harder, more costly, increasing the total cost of ownership for the company. And it's just going to make it harder when there are upgrades. And there were always upgrades.
Yeah, exactly. I think one thing that always strikes me is that no matter who I talk to, all companies think that they're unique in how they do things, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've heard we're so unique, we're so different in how we do a process, and then like they describe an allocation to me that 90% of companies in their industry do, right? And I feel like I don't know what it is, but there's something out there where I think everyone thinks that they're doing things so differently than everybody else out there. So like there might be that initial bias towards let's do a custom type solution because we're so unique that no out of the box kind of pre-built module can do what we want to do. Like how do you kind of get to the like is that really the case or not?
Yeah, what you mean if it's something that you have to have or not? Quite frankly, I think it depends who your leadership team is. I think our role as CFO is to not just say, "Oh, okay, you want to do it that way," and "Oh, I'm not a massive techie." But I think that CFOs have the obligation and they have the right to ask all sorts of questions. From their cross-functional brethren, and I think they should be able to be less biased and more even keeled in terms of do we absolutely have to do this or not. So that would be my suggestion. Like, don't be afraid to really give it hear people out, hear what they have to say, but it's almost like when you kick off a tech project, one of the operating principles should be, go with what's out of the box, unless we can't function unless we make this change. That would be my suggestion.
Right. No, that's great. And you bring up a great point about, asking the question, kind of leads to, having the right team to make sure that you can kind of get things, across the finish line. I know in the notes that you had sent for talking points, you mentioned that, it takes a village to do a lot of these tasks. And, maybe do you want to talk a little bit about the role of the team and how you kind of rally the team around ensuring readiness for any kind of whether it's a implementation, whether it's an upgrade, whether it's a new process, anything like that.
Sure. Look, well, first of all, I think I was saying like the three legs of the stool, and I put people. They're the first leg. And because without people, you cannot possibly, succeed and have a thriving business. So I think like that with anything, you need to make sure that, you've got the right people around you who complement each other and work on something called emotional intelligence, where you can they say read a room, right? You that type of person, and if you don't feel like you're that type of person, try to learn more about it, work on those skills, because I have worked for certain leaders who were probably the best leaders I ever worked with. They may not have been like from a raw IQ standpoint, they weren't the smartest I ever worked with. Not that they weren't intelligent and smart, but I think it's like the best leaders and people who deliver for an organization. They know the right people to have around the table and the right combination. And how do you read a room? So with any sort of change, whether that's a technological investment, whether that, to your point, is a process change, whether that are other people changes, you have to do so with care and like exercising, common sense, but care. You can't, to me, like, I don't like to like ram change down people's throats. You need to bring people along with you, not, they're like alongside you and with you. and you're sort of like the conductor of the band, and they're the band. So, but I think a lot of it. So it's it's can be gradual. B, articulating sort of like what as a leader and CFOs or VP of finance, you're the leaders of the company, so you need to explain like what is the bigger picture, what's the remit, why do we need to do this, why is this an issue. And I think when smart people understand the impetus for the change, the ones who are behind it, they're going to get on the bus. Sometimes people may not want to get on the bus. When I worked on an ERP at Tops, there were certain people who chose to leave the organization. But I was like, wow, this is really an experience. And again, as a CFO or like a VP of finance, you want to have these types of experiences. And I wanted the experience, and it took a year and a half, and it was really hard. And it took a village. It took my team and others within the organization. It took a lot of patience. It took senior leadership, like the CFO, who was a mentor of mine, and I have like tremendous respect for. He was the CFO before I was. He's amazing, but he had to really sell things into the board to get the funding, for the change. But there was more risk if the company did not proceed on a project like that. So it's like it's all of those things. But again, I think if people know like what's the overriding reason for the change. And sometimes like a process change could be to take cost out of the system. Sometimes a process change could be because we want a better service offering for our customer. And without the customers in consumer products, you don't have a business. So it's but show people, the bigger picture. What are we trying to achieve here? And then many times, my team is smarter than I am. They will tell me, well, this is a better way to do this, Robin. And I want to hear what they have to say so we can get to a better place.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, especially because, I even think back to some of the most memorable projects and teams that I've had, and it's not necessarily the ones where, we were on time, under budget, everything was easy going through, but some of them was, you're surrounded by people, you're all in the trench together, and you're far behind. You've got a long way to go. You're trying to hit a deadline, all that kind of stuff. And it's knowing that everybody else that's on that team is committed and equally vested and invested in the solution there. And that's kind of where some of the best ideas and innovations and things have come, where things haven't been all sunshine and rainbows, and really it's all about not just the what you do, the people that are there with you, and how you're all working together to get to achieve that common goal, where a lot of these innovative, whether they're processes, solutions, technology, implementation, that a lot of that sparks from those types of events.
Agreed. So it's like being in the trenches. Some of the best relationships, and again, as I look back on my career, the relationships that I've built over the years with some amazingly talented people is what I cherish the most. And to your point, being in the trenches with people, going through really stressful situations, that is how trust is built, and that is how some of the best ideas, to your point, come about. So I could not agree more.
Yeah, no, and one of the things that I guess I'm kind of picking up from you in terms of, you know, I'm a kind of person that I like to, as I go through, I don't want to be hey, I figured this out and I did this, look at me, right? It's about, helping grow other people along the way to get to that same level, and that mentorship, and that, how do we not only achieve a vision, but help everybody achieve their own, personal goals, professional goals, things like that. Maybe do you want to talk a little bit about, kind of the mentorship that you typically provide, and like things that have been important and helpful to you along the way as well.
Sure. No, I think you're picking up on a key point. One of the reasons for me that I say that I'm still in the game, right? It's for that. It's for the relationships. It's for, like, helping to bring people along. When I look at my career, when I look back and then I look forward, like, I'm definitely more than halfway through my career. So at this point, I feel like it's more about making sure that I am building that next generation, of leadership. And trust me, it's not a one-way street. When I'm doing that, I'm learning back. Like, we're both helping each other. So it's a mutual, relationship. And I'm doing it because, that's what gets me excited about getting up every day, and going to work. And ultimately, my role, though, is to work for ownership. I ownership has a set of objectives, and my job is to fulfill those objectives. But I want to do it in a way that I'm creating an environment that is, people want to be there. They want to work with this set of folks. They want to, they want to learn and grow. And that is what keeps people at companies. Money matters. It definitely does. But it's the camaraderie that you have. It's the, do you believe in, and this is important to me as well, do I believe in the mission of the business? Like, do I believe in what we're doing? And being in consumer, typically, what's the product offering? Who's the consumer? What needs are we satisfying? And does that get me excited? And so if I believe in all of those things, and then it's, who are the people that I'm working with, whether they're on my teams or not, it doesn't matter. We're all in it together. Like, we're in the boat, and sometimes the boat, like you said, is very rocky, or we have a lot of water in the boat. So we got to get the water out of the boat. But it's, that's really what jazzes me, and why I'm doing, what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised too in terms of, I'm sure you've, hit this as well, like just in terms of like, sometimes it can be very easy to turn morale around on projects, like I was on one where I walked into on this big implementation, and the first day I'm there, the rest of the team is, when can I get off this project? When can I go to something else? I really dislike this. I really hate it.
Oh
And all of this. And, I had to deliver the message of, look, unfortunately, we've all got to be committed to, getting this over the finish line. Now, while I can't, go and, make things better overnight over here, maybe there are aspects of what you're doing that we can improve, right? So maybe, you're not going to like the work that you're doing for the next week or two, but then we can transition you onto something that you will like a little bit more. Or, I see you're traveling and you'd really like to, go to the gym before, but, you weren't approved to get a rental car. So let's get you a rental car, right? And you see that, there are a lot of people that would otherwise just, walk out the door or say, I can't do this anymore, where, it's a lot of those little things that you say, hey, look, like, we're going to improve what we can. And in a short period of time, you're achieving what you need to achieve. Everybody's, seeing the value of what's on there. And it really didn't take a whole lot, to go and get there.
It's typically these types of projects. They typically show that ownership is making an investment, okay, in the company by kicking off a project like that, and it is an opportunity for you and the people on the team to learn and grow. It is not their everyday job. Um, that being said, like, what some learnings that I can share are that you have to make sure, though, that when you're putting your project plan together, that you are funding appropriate backfill. That is one thing that I've seen on a multitude of projects. I also always budget a contingency because if things are going to go wrong and if we need more money, I want ownership to know how much, and I'm clear about that contingency. But and if we don't need it, great, then it's found money. But the way I have typically proposed this to my team members is that this is a learning and a growth opportunity for you, and it's going to be very hard, but you get a lot out of that. And many of the people I've chosen to surround myself with, they're my team members wanted that. They were like really into it, and they also see what the end game is. It's important again to explain this is the end game, this is what we're doing, why we're doing it, this is the business case. So as long as they get that, then they're excited about it, and they want to work on the initiative.
Yeah, I mean, so many projects that I see fail because communication, like all it took would have taken is a little bit of communication up front with this is what we're doing, this is why it's important, this is how you can be part of it. Here's kind of like what's in it for you from a, not from a like you're going to get a raise of this or whatever out of it, but like from what you're going to learn, how you're going to grow from being on this project. And a lot of times that's not done, and and little tweaks like that can really make or break a project where sometimes that person that may have just been all right, tell me what to do and I'll do it, they start to see the vision, and now they start to have some ideas come up around maybe we can make this even better if we did this instead of this. And now you're
And they make the
organically.
project better. Yeah, they
Right,
make it better.
right.
Exactly.
Right. They make it better, which now they have their, little mark on the project where now they're more invested in it because they contributed to it in some way. And sometimes I know you mentioned about, having a contingency on project plans and projects. And, I think a lot of companies look at like, hey, if we go over budget, that's a terrible thing, because we asked for this and now we have to go ask for more money. But sometimes as you're going through some kind of an upgrade or project, that's when you start to see, well, hey, I can go and use this technology in this other area too and get these other benefits. And sometimes it's not a matter of, I was supposed to spend $10 million and I spent 12 to get the same output. Maybe it's I was supposed to spend 10 million and I realized if I spent 2 more million, we could double the overall benefit of what this brings. And it was a positive overage and not it took us longer and cost more as a result of that.
Well, to that, you bring up a very good point, and a good concept as well is that if people, if people within the organization want to undertake these initiatives, whether it's technology or otherwise, as a senior finance leader, it is incumbent upon you to work with them on a business case. What is the business case? What is the return on investment? Or is it a strategic investment, but you need a business case? And it is definitely our role in finance at higher levels of finance to work, but not just to say, well, give me a business case. You can work with the people who want the money and say, I'll help you create the business case. And then that is a skill set that it's my expectation that heavy finance leaders, like senior finance leaders, they need to be putting that together and bringing that to me before I can go to my ownership for the money.
Right. And to that point, it's, people that are out there looking for how do I get to that next level? How do I get to that CFO level? You're not going to get there just because you're the best financial analyst out there that can produce reports faster than anybody else, right? It's you want to have or, be seen as a driver of positive change in the organization, right? So as you're coming up with, it's very important to get involved in whatever types of initiatives are out there of, what can I put my name to? What can I, add on top of just what is, being asked of me over here to not just go and, fill this little, niche that I was asked to fill, but, how do we find ways to improve the company overall, improve our finance function, whatever it is, have something that, sets you up in a position where it's, I didn't just contribute to the team. I contributed to the vision, or, where directionally our organization is headed.
Absolutely. That's right. You need to be like a key business partner and a driver, to your point, of change within the company in a positive way. And that is a way to differentiate yourself within the finance function. Many finance people, look, we know the technical proficiency, that is table stakes. So the people who can effectively navigate an organization, come up with opportunities with their cross-functional brethren, and then be a part of that positive change. Those are the people who ultimately, I think, will be tapped to move to that next level. And I also think that there's no substitute for some time and experience. I think some of the younger generation versus mine. To be honest, I'm a Gen X, and we have more patience. Like it was grit, pure grit, time, learning, all of that. And I do notice millennials and like some of the other gens. I just think it's okay, but it's up to people like me, I think, to set the right expectation. And I just think don't rush yourself. You also want to be ready. Once you're in that C suite role, there is a tremendous amount of pressure and exposure. That's a good thing, but you want to be ready to do that. And for me, it's been, I guess, about 10 years ago that I made my way into the C suite. And so, and it took some time before I really felt comfortable, in a role like that. So don't put so much pressure on yourself, but try to get on the special projects, which is, what we were talking about earlier. Get the experience and the exposure that you need.
Right. Yeah, no, that resonates with me when you talk about patience, because, I was always the kind of person that was, okay, what's needed to get to the next level? And let's say, oh, you had to have done this, this, and this. Okay, I did it. Now, am I there? And
You're like, am I ready? Yeah, I know
and
what
it's
you
no, no,
mean.
no, time and that always used to drive me crazy when I would hear, you need to
Yeah.
have more time and level and all this, because I would always be like, well, but I did it. I showed you I could do it. Like, what's 2 more years of me doing this gonna do? But, as I've kind of, progressed and started to see, the different situations that are out there, it's not necessarily just being able to deliver on a project that's going well. I know so many people who, they were lucky in their careers with every project just ended up, on time, under budget, all, best team on there. Everyone had perfect skill alignment with what was being asked with them, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, look, I'm this great leader because, my projects are all on time. And then, there are other people out there that haven't had the best luck on projects, and, some, projects, got canceled, or, any of that kind of stuff. And, there's a lot of value to being able to see, different, situations, and knowing that, hey, this person knows how to respond in those types of situations, where, just like, I like hearing, I want all these customizations more than I want none. It's the same of the people that, when I'm asked to, assist in an interview or something like that, where they say, oh, every project of mine, was on time and on budget. And you get somebody else who, maybe not every project was successful, but they learned a lot from those experiences. Sometimes it's better to take the person that's had the different experiences and learned from, things that happen, versus, the person who, if a project is in a state where it's about to fail tomorrow, how do you know how they're going to be able to react in a situation like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say, some of my, I guess, best process improvements with my organizations and teams have been because I say we had car crashes, or I say I have the black and blues to prove it. Because a car crash, something went wrong. The key is, what did you learn from it, and how did I take that with me, and or the organization made a positive change from it. Businesses are hard, and they're all different. So, it's why I love working on businesses, because I find it to be challenging. But you're not going to have the same answer, for every issue and problem. So you learn as a group. What's the best thing we can? What did we learn? But I always, I like to say, fool me once, don't fool me twice, because you can't make the same, and ownership's not going to accept that. If you make a mistake once, okay, what did we learn from it? What are we doing to not have that happen again? I think that's like a constant cycle, and wheel, and that's totally acceptable. To make mistakes, but it's, what did you do about it and make the business better from it?
Right. Yeah, no, that's great because, it's not just about everything, working out. It's not, oh, you made a mistake, you're out of here type of situation, but it's a matter of, if the same things are happening and you're not doing anything to make sure it doesn't happen again, then there's an element of, you're not progressing or you're not learning in this type of a role versus, you might make 20, 30, 40 mistakes and they may be fine because, maybe they weren't high, critical types of issues out there. And maybe there are things that out of that, not only was something learned, but maybe something was brought back to the team of, now we have these extra controls in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again, and out of mistakes, out of negative things that happen, it also opens the door to a lot of opportunity, for those looking for it, to say, hey, look, yes, this happened. Maybe it was me that caused it. Maybe it was somebody else, but I have this idea of how to make sure that something like this doesn't happen because, and now there's something in place that was a positive change brought about from you that resulted in, something negative that happened. So I guess how, one of the things that I know you talked about a little bit earlier was about, ensuring that you're ready, for the position, ready to take on the challenges, ready to succeed. Like, how do you know when you've gotten there or that you're about to get there? Like what are some of the things that people should be looking for?
So the funniest thing I was going to say, you don't. Before, I mean, when I was tapped into the C-suite, I felt like I said, "Oh, I don't want the role." I was so afraid. But so sometimes you don't know, but it's that, does your boss or mentor, like, do they believe enough in you to say, I think that you have the potential, because of the experiences that you've had and the things that they've seen you do, that I'm going to take a chance on this person and put them in the pool. And again, they're going to swim or they're going to sink. And chances are, if someone is tapping you, you are a high achiever and you've never sank. I mean, and that doesn't mean you don't make mistakes, like we were just talking, because that's not failure. So I think when and businesses are challenging, like not every business is the same. And sometimes, particularly in consumer, we could have waves of really positive things, and then all of a sudden discretionary spending goes down, whatever it is, and you have to react. Um, so you don't always know, but you need to have like enough faith in yourself that either a you never don't not take an opportunity to see new things, work on a special project, meet new people in your organization, push yourself to do that, be visible, be visible with management. They're not trying to stump you. Like if you're doing a presentation, they just want to know your area, like, or the information. So, but give yourself that exposure and try to work on as many initiatives, as you can so that you're learning and growing. That's really important. When something comes up, that's typically when, whether it's a recruiter or it's your boss, like they'll tap you and you just have to, sometimes again, you may not feel ready. You got to like push yourself. If this is your objective, then you got to push yourself and say, you know what? I'm going to take a chance and, realize my potential. And after you're in a role and then like another one that's similar that comes up, then you're saying, okay, I have C-suite experience. I know that I am capable, making these functions on and doing. Another thing I would say is sometimes maybe there's an additional function someone wants to give you, but it's the same level. Have faith that you have the acumen to pick the right leader. You don't have to know everything, but you have to have it's all about talent, and you have to have capable people around you. So you could also be the same level, stretch yourself, get more functional expertise, because all of a sudden an area, maybe it was IT, never reported to you, now it reports to you. That doesn't mean that you need to know how to code, but it does mean that you have to have an appreciation, for the area and what they need, what resources they need, being people, money, and the business challenges to take the area on.
Right. Right. And sometimes it's not even being asked to do something, but just having something spur from something that you're interested in, like something that comes to my mind, that when, like people in finance say like, hey, how can I make a, mark in my function or whatever? And say, all right, well, AI is now this up and coming, the talk of the town. A lot of people are afraid to invest in it right now because it's so new and changing every single day, and they kind of want to wait for a level of maturity before going into it. And if you're someone that says, hey, look, maybe I'll put some extra time on top of what I normally do, and go and start learning some of these skills and see how I can bring it back to the team. It's not always necessarily a matter of somebody saying, hey, can you explore this for me, but what's a natural extension of
Sure.
what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis that.
And taking the
Right.
initiative yourself, to your point.
Right.
Absolutely. I think people in your organization would really appreciate something like that, for sure.
Right. Right, because sometimes the opportunity doesn't necessarily come to everybody. Sometimes it's a matter of how do I go and you know make this an opportunity, from something that maybe I wasn't asked to do. And I think that's something that's often overlooked, where a lot of people get stuck in the, oh well, I wasn't asked to do that, I'm not going to do this, or whatever, not out of malice or anything like that, just a I want to do what I'm told, kind of mentality. And there's a lot of opportunity out there, just in terms of ways to grow and to contribute and to be seen as ready for that next level.
Yeah, sure. And the point that you raise makes me think as well about some other advice that I would have is taking on new things, like you said, or exploring an area without being asked. That's an investment in yourself. And for me, I chose to go to graduate school because I love education, and again, it's an investment that I made in myself. And so anything that you can do to augment your skill set, but something that it's, once you learn it, it's yours. No one can take that away. So, and it's just going to make you more confident and give you the ability to add value, to your organization, more than if you didn't take it on.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of people like to compare themselves to other people, in the sense of, oh, what's this person doing? This person did this and that. And I tell people all the time, it's, don't do what other people are doing, do what other people are not doing. that's where you start to differentiate yourself and stand out because, you did something that was above and beyond what, anybody else did.
For sure. Makes sense.
So I know we're getting close to the end over here. Really appreciate having you on here. I know I have a lot of takeaways from this, and I know that our audience does as well. Just want to remind everybody, watching to just make sure you follow the channel, subscribe, so that we could get other great guests just like Robin on the show over here. But before we end, are there any other words of wisdom or advice that you have? I know you shared a ton today. Just want to make sure we get every single bit out of this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. No, I would just end with like, it's okay, depending on where you are in your career. If you don't know exactly what you want to be when you grow up, that's okay. I definitely did not start my career and say, oh, I have to be a CFO one day. I didn't. I was just fortunate to have worked with people who believed in me and gave me the, experiences that made me passionate about what I was doing. And like I said, I just sort of fell into certain things and was less deliberate. Not that you shouldn't be deliberate, but it's everyone's career path and journey is going to be different. And that's fine. Don't, like I said, don't take your time. Don't put all the pressure on yourself. You're going to land ultimately where you're meant to be. And I would try to pick something that you love, and you're passionate about, and that you're good at as well. And you can't be great at everything. It just doesn't work like that. But if you can combine, where you have like technical proficiency and something that you have a passion for, that would be my recommendation.
Great. And if you can't be great at everything, align yourself with the team that brings what you don't have.
100%. Augment your skill set with people who have skills that you do not have. That is a very good point.
Yeah. Well, it was great having you on, Robin. If our audience has any questions or wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way? Is it LinkedIn? Are there other social channels that you're on as well?
I would say LinkedIn is probably the best.
Perfect. All right. Well, like I said, it's great having you on, and hope to have you on again in the future.